In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, one God, Amen. Chanefranim, if you name pure name, pepin of my soul, benot you know what I mean. This is our second introductory lesson. So pretty much this time what I wanna go over is actually the letters of the Coptic alphabet. I'm not gonna be teaching any letters in this specific tutorial. It would rather be just an overview of the letters and development of the Coptic language from like a historical perspective mainly. First of all, as you know, the ancient Egyptians, when they used to write stuff, they used to write in the hieroglyph, which means the holy writing. Actually, the word hieroglyph was actually coined by Saint Clement of Alexandria, because it was mainly used for the worship in the temples. And as you can see here, this is the hieroglyph alphabet, which is the first alphabet that was created by the Egyptians and is considered the very first alphabet ever. So we actually invented the writing system. As you can see here, the consonants are represented by by figures. So each figure does not have a meaning that it entails. So if you have like a vulture here, it doesn't mean it's a vulture. It just means the letter. I'm not sure what the letter is, but it just has a sound. There are no vowels, so it's based on the consonant sound, similar to Arabic. If you're familiar with it, sometime would not have vowels. So that's how the hieroglyph was developed. That was the very first development, and I think there was an example here, just a random website I found online. Hopefully they're correct. Is like if they want to write the word mesh, which means crocodile, they have the M, they have the S, and they have like sorry, to be mesh because there was no mesh, and M and S and H, and then they will put the picture of a crocodile to represent what the word actually means. And similarly for a cat. So as it looks very complicated, it was mainly developed for the writing on the ancient temples. So you would see it on the temples, because the temples was mainly built for the kings or for the gods. So there was so much art put in it, just like let's say the Catholic churches in France. They're all like where all the architecture goes. Here is where all the art goes. So like they had enough time to actually write all this on it. However, as we said, it was only limited to the religious writing. That's why hieroglyph, which means the holy writing. The glyph is like glyph, it just means writing. The second development was actually it's called the hieratic script. So as you can see here, it's just simply a simplification of hieroglyph writing. It was started being mainly used for other purposes that aren't just religious, but it was only still used by I would say mostly by the priests and mainly for like big orders, like would be kings, priests, things like that, because it was pretty kind of advanced writing. But it's simply a simplification of every single figure that exists in the that exists in the hieroglyph. So they just simplified it in a way that you can probably do it in one stroke. Like you don't even have any artistic talent. You just see how a simple figure like this just became this letter. If you look at this letter, which is the letter A, just look at it, and because it will look familiar to you. And that's actually and then I found that they have manuscripts here. Yeah, the manuscript actually shows how the writing like. So that's how the writing looks like. So whatever you see on the temples, it has been simplified this way. So that's the second development. The last development, not the last development, the simplest development that's also based on this is called the Demotic. Demotic is like it's like democracy. Demotic just simply means the text of the people. It's also further simplification. So as you can see, that was the further simplification that was done based on the hieroglyph. It was just very simplified to actually be written by the commoners. It was used in everything. It was used in the daily work, daily business, by commoners, by everyone who can read and write. This is what the language that they used to, or the writing system that they used to use, until it eventually reached the Coptic writing. So how did the Coptic writing come into existence? So that's the Coptic font or the Coptic writing. The Coptic writing came through the Greeks. So what happened is the Egyptians has developed the first writing system. It was taken by the Phoenicians, adopted by them, simplified by them to give it a different look. And then it was adopted by the Greeks, who simplified it even further to give it the figures that we have right now. So actually you can see a starting similarity, like you see this letter alpha for A, and if you look here, as we've seen here, it kind of looks like the A. Like you can see a kind of similarity here. you can see that the figure that used to be a bird, it's like, I'm gonna assume the bird just looked like this. It eventually simplified that you would have just this. And that was the bird for the letter A. So there are 32 letters in the Coptic alphabet. Don't worry, they're not too much. They actually just pretty much, they can look familiar too. They kind of look like English or the Latin writing. 25 of those are of Greek origin, just taken from Greek, and then the last 7 are taken from the Demotic script that we have just explained. Simply because there are sounds that do not exist in Greek, so they adopted those 7 letters so they can make up for the letters that do not exist in Greek, so they can have those sounds. Those are 20, should be 24, it should be 25 in total, except you have an addition here of a number that's called Sima. So sorry, I'm sorry. It's called Su'u. Su'u is a letter for number 6. Eventually, when you're gonna learn numbers, you're gonna see that each of those letters represent a number, and however the number 6 is used for just the letter Su'u is that just means 6. If you look at any solis, you're gonna see this Su'u just look like this, and if you remember Shashfin Sofi Mini 7 times every day, you're gonna see that it starts with a zeta and kind of a dash on top. This dash on top just say it's a number, so it goes like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is 6, and then you have 7. So this is a very, very brief history about the Coptic writing and how it came into existence. Starting the next tutorials, we're going to be going over some of those letters. So we're going to be starting by the first letter eventually. To start explaining how the sounds are like. Meanwhile, those are the letters. This is the best font I actually like. It's either Abraham font or Athanasius font. Those are so the way that the writing of the Coptic happens on Word, Microsoft Word, is that you write in English using a font like Times New Roman Arial, but then there are Coptic fonts. Those Coptic fonts just simply change the English alphabet to look like Coptic. You can actually write in Coptic letters, so there's actually Coptic letters, but people don't use them much because they're not easy to. You cannot type them on the keyboard. If you go on Microsoft Word and you say insert symbols and like more symbols, and then you choose Coptic and Greek and Coptic letters, it will show you all of the Coptic letters that do not exist in Greek. So those are all in Greek, so you can simply, if you have a Greek keyboard, you can type them really easily. And then you have those letters which exist just solely Coptic, and you can actually find them on Microsoft Word. However, people tend to prefer to actually type in English and use this because those ones are more common. Like it's easier to just type on an English keyboard. Just have your English keyboard, you just write in English, and you just change the font from a Times New Roman to Coptic, like Abraham or Athanasius or like whatever fonts there exist, and it just simply converts it for you automatically. So you start writing in Coptic. There are different fonts. The difference between them not just so beside the way they look, just the text looks, because fonts can just play with how the letters look. There's also what keys click with. So if you have so if you have an eta here, where is eta? So here's an eta. This eta means a double I, so it's like a long E. So it's like you see like an I and I, and they're connected. It's like a long I. On some keyboards they would be the letter H. On some keyboards they'd be the letters Y, because Y is like it's like a long E. Sorry, like a long I, the pronunciation of an E. So each Coptic font has its own different mapping. Choose one that you're comfortable with and get used to it. If you want to start typing in Coptic, you cannot type in chat in Coptic, but it could be like when you actually type on Word, because it's simply a font that you can change. There is actually an app called the Coptic Font Library. It's on Windows Store app. It's a Windows Store app. So it's gonna be like on Windows 10 or Windows 8. It's called Coptic Fonts Library, where you write anything in English. Let's say I write my name is whatever your name is, or like whatever letters you want, and then it will show you each font how each letter will look like. So if you type a Y, it will show you. Does it show an eta, or does it show I don't know, sometimes it's like a psi, which letter it shows. Pretty much depending on each letter how they're mapped, you can choose whatever you want. So that's pretty much for this tutorial. Starting next one, we're going to be actually studying letters.